Federal agents didn't just raid a Georgia judge's office. They found a parallel justice system feeding a cartel's supply chain. A courthouse clerk allegedly manipulated case files, timestamps, and defendant names, then printed transfer requests after hours. When investigators opened a forgotten vault labeled Evidence Destruction Queue, they pulled sealed narcotics, cash, and unlabeled drives matching missing logs. Add in 2 sitting sheriffs implicated in convoy escorts, falsified warrants reused across cases, and a witness who said, "We were told the judge approved it." This is how 2 tons of product moved while the record said nothing. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. How does a sealed envelope with a clerk's name turn a highway stop into a federal raid on a judge's office? It starts on the shoulder of a Georgia interstate. Agents pull a car for a routine check and count $48,000 in rubber-banded stacks, 2 handguns under the seat, and a sealed envelope marked with a courthouse clerk's name.
In the Mississippi Delta, according to the FBI, the indictment for these arrests stem from a drug trafficking operation that ended here in Memphis.
The 12-count indictment goes back to 2022. It says the FBI posed as a Mexican drug cartel.
The cash is suspicious, but the envelope is the key. When they run the name, a pattern begins to form that no normal case file can explain. Investigators pull digital court logs tied to that clerk. They don't find simple typos. Files show missing pages where sentencing notes should be. Timestamps jump backward and forward in a way the system doesn't allow during standard hours. One defendant's record appears under several name variations, each pointing to a different verdict and bond status. The edits line up too neatly to be coincidence. Each change shaves time off a case, drops a hold, or shifts a transfer date. Then the after-hours activity stands out.
Yeah, the FBI calls this operation corruption. The indictment says the law enforcement officers received up to $37,000.
Disgraced the badge and undermined the hard work of good law enforcement officers across this state and across the region.
Over 3 months, the same clerk accesses restricted files 19 times. Each session is short and targeted. A status flips from hold to release. A tag that marks narcotics evidence vanishes. A transfer request gets printed but not emailed, avoiding the normal notification trail. The log shows prints run on a floor printer near a locked records room, well after closing. Court case management systems are built to leave footprints. Every view, edit, print, and export logs to an audit trail with user ID, time, and action type. Access controls limit who can touch sealed or restricted records, and backups preserve past states so that a judge or auditor can reconstruct the timeline. Irregular timestamps suggest manual interference with the clock or edits queued to process outside standard windows. Tag removals are rare and require justification because tags tie cases to evidence, warrants, or holds. When those tags drop without a note, it signals intent to break the chain that connects a case to its physical proof.
For allegedly escorting drugs through the Mississippi Delta. Shaka Gaines, a Greenville police officer, is just one of the 20 indicted in a Mississippi Delta drug trafficking operation.
Now the cases involved begin to look alike. High-weight narcotics seizures with multi-state custody. Interstate transfer packets that move faster than normal. Sometimes approved the night before freight moves. A file tied to a bulk seizure gets a fresh approval stamp at 11:43 p.m., then a transfer form prints minutes later. By morning, the defendant's hold reads, "Released to transport," and the CMS shows no alert, even though the evidence tag is gone. Another case shows a bond modification filed after midnight that clears a release just as a shipment window opens on a nearby highway corridor. Money lands where the edits happen. 4 employees, 2 clerks, a security officer, and a deputy bailiff, received deposits described as consulting fees from entities in Delaware and the Virgin Islands. The payments range from $8,000 to $37,000 and show up within days of case closures or when a shipment certification hits the file. None of these deposits appear on required disclosures. The timing lines up with the edits, and the amounts scale with the weight of the cases those employees touched. Homeland Security and ICE track those payments. The funds route through Caribbean-based banks, pause in intermediary accounts in Florida and Texas, then land in private accounts tied to courthouse staff and regional law enforcement. The same threads lead to utilities running quietly at a Savannah warehouse and an Illinois cold storage site. Activity at both locations spikes in the same windows when the CMS shows late-night approvals and printed transfer requests.
Chaka Gaines, this is the FBI. Come out with your hands up and nothing in your hand. We have a warrant for your arrest.
Deputy FBI Director Andrew Bailey condemning their alleged crime.
They betrayed the trust that the public placed in them.
So the traffic stop opens the door. The envelope names the clerk. The audit trail maps the tampering. The money trail ties those edits to logistics that move product without friction. With the paper and the money moving in sync, investigators turn inward for what the files don't show: the missing physical proof sitting inside the courthouse they just flagged. Why would a courthouse keep 6 boxes of sealed narcotics in a vault labeled for destruction, with no matching logs? Investigators follow the paper trail back to the building and push into a basement corridor that staff stopped using years ago. A metal door carries a taped label, Evidence Destruction Queue. Inside, shelves hold sealed narcotics in standard agency wrap, stacks of cash rubber-banded by denomination, and a row of unlabeled external drives. When they compare serials on the drug seals and currency straps to missing evidence entries, the numbers line up. The drives correspond to digital references that vanished from the case management system weeks earlier. The room shouldn't have visitors, yet the access data shows after-hours entries tied to restricted IDs. The card swipes fall between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., outside any authorized window. Security cameras down the hall catch people in civilian clothing entering with covered faces and gloves. One figure carries a heat sealer. Another brings a banker's box and leaves empty-handed 30 minutes later. None of the visits appear on maintenance schedules, and the overnight cleaning log skips the corridor altogether. Chain of custody collapses start small and spread fast. Officers swap evidence bags after hours. They relabel them, reseal them, and refile them under case numbers that later test as inactive. Warrant packets surface with signatures from officers on leave, reused across different dates. When a defendant file lists in custody, while surveillance shows he was never booked, every related seizure gets compromised. Courts rely on continuity. Who touched the item, when, and why. Each handoff requires a date, time, and signature that matches the tag on the physical seal. Break that line, and a defense attorney can move to suppress. Tampered seals, mismatched entries, or gap times destroy reliability and can sink prosecutions, no matter the weight of the evidence. The scope widens. 21 individuals surface in the probe, including 14 certified officers. 2 sitting sheriffs.
Washington County Sheriff Milton Gaston and Humphreys County Sheriff Bruce Williams gave who they thought were cartel members their, quote, blessing. 14 were law enforcement officers, including 2 elected sheriffs in Mississippi.
FBI operation ended in dozens arrested, including police officers, sheriff's deputies, and 2 sheriffs.
Milton Gaston of Washington County and Bruce Williams of Humphrey County allegedly greenlight escorts and issue access for out-of-state contractors with no record in court files. Investigators connect them through surveillance pulls, bank activity, and intercepted comms that mirror the timing of case closures and evidence room updates. The operation runs with official cover. In at least 9 instances, marked units provide armed escorts for vehicles carrying cash, narcotics, or both. They drive standard routes with lights and sirens to clear intersections and avoid stops by routine patrols. Radio traffic switches to coded language over secure channels. GPS pings from department-issued radios trace paths that match known cartel transit lines, hitting the same cities at predictable intervals. Each movement correlates with an evidence room update, a closed case entry, or a sudden court delay that buys time on the road. One hub sits off the Savannah corridor. The warehouse doors are secured with new locks bought with government funds. Private contractors with expired law enforcement credentials control access. Their clearances came through forged paperwork routed by a regional sheriff's office. Internal codes deactivate cameras on schedule. When agents hit the site, they find drug packaging materials and boxes of paper files stamped with courthouse identifiers. The folders never appear in the digital archive. They exist only on paper, prepped to justify movement and shield loads from scrutiny. Inside interviews reveal the mindset that greased the gears. A witness states, Everything is legal. We were told the judge approved it, a line used to normalize late-night entries, escorts, and special badges. That claim, real authorization or a forged cover, helps people move with confidence, pass keys between hands, and treat sealed rooms like a private loading dock. Now the second payoff lands. Those boxes, cash stacks, and unlabeled drives prove the split between the physical world and the digital record. Drugs tied to closed files. Money never logged as seized. Media that should live in evidence, scrubbed from the archive. With logistics mapped and the belief system on record, federal reviews expand and old convictions come up for a hard recheck. If a parallel system could live inside a judge's office, the question isn't where it happened, it's where it's still running.